You'll see a grazing animal in real life. This is Patches. She's my cow. And in the winter, when there's snow on the ground, she comes up here and lives along this fence. Right now, she's standing there. She lives in the space. You can see it by the mud hole from where she is back to there. And then in that corner right there, that's where the waterer is. And it's shared between her outside and Abe in here. And cattle and all grazers, when operated properly, which was to say allowed to to live the way they choose to live, they walk, they take a bite, and they take a step, and they take a bite, and they take a step, and they cross the world one step at a time. And in a properly functioning agricultural ecosystem, we'd have these vast acreages where cattle were allowed to be herded through by nomadic pastoral herders who just traveled around the country forever with their cattle and sold some of them. That would be how an ideal functioning ecosystem, or agro-econo ecosystem would work. She's going to walk forward until she reaches the end of what she calls her place here, her world. And then she's going to turn around. And then she's going to walk back over to there. And if I had brought a bale out here and put it there behind her, it would go to waste. She wouldn't even know it was there. She's already been there. She's done with that spot. You bring a bale out. I just brought a bale out. What she's eating now is a bale hunk of a fresh square bale of her particular favorite kind of hay. And which fortunately for me is not Abe's favorite kind of hay. They each have a kind they like better, and so I feed her mostly that and him mostly the other, and everybody's as happy as they can be given that it's winter out here. And if I needed to, if I didn't have Abe and I actually had a need to, that cow right there would pull all my stuff and carry all my stuff for me. People all over the world working cows and steers. You know, cows pulled the wagon trains west. Horses and mules didn't. Cows did. Steers, both, because when they got out here, the first thing they had to do was eat. You worry about getting horses later, but you got to have something to make you milk and food and babies that you can eat, and pull your plow right now today and pull your wagon. So, you know, when it all breaks down in America, people are going to suddenly realize, holy my God, there's about a zillion cows out there in feedlots. And they're going to go get them, and they're going to take them out one and two at a time and put them in pastures and tame them down, which takes about a week because they're domesticated and they want to be your friend. I could walk over there and pet her on the forehead. She'd interrupt her feeding to get her forehead petted. And she's been nothing but a wild cow in a pasture since she was born. She was born on this property. She's 13 years old. And she's a virgin heifer. She's here because we're here, because that's how it is. And, you know, she'll get to the end over here, you know, someplace you can see that she hasn't traveled that way very much. When the north wind is bitter, she goes over there and stands in the shade of that little tiny building, which is currently in great need of repair. And because that's the south side, she's south of me right here where we're standing. So that's it. That's how cattle work. You know, in a small spot, they're pretty destructive. If you look at this, but this is what they're supposed to do. They come through a place. Pardon me. This is also where I store my panels. They come through a place and they just tromp it into a disaster area, and they shit on everything, and they move on. And in a properly functioning prairie ecosystem or grass ecosystem, savanna, that's how the plants are evolved too. Everything works together, and the plants go, boy, was that a ride, and they grow like crazy. And the cattle just move on, and they just move on. You know, there's this, and I mean, she could pull this fence out in a heartbeat if she wanted to. She's my friend, so you know, I can go up there and put my arm around her neck, but that animal there, that more people in America die from cattle and die from anything else, because, you know, you don't take an animal this big and modify its genetic structure for 7,000 or 8,000 years to be your friend and then say, screw you, go out there and stand in the pasture. I got no use for you here. There'll be 200,000 of you in this mud hole. These animals, just like Abraham, are literally evolved. They're genetically different from their ancestral aurochs, which no longer exists. They literally evolved to be our friends. And all we have to do is look at how they want to operate and operate them that way, and they'll be our friends. They'll do stuff for us. It's not the cattle that are wrong. It's not the beef that's wrong. It's the idiots that's wrong. And Homo sapiens has taken a wrong turn, and it's operating everything wrong. It's like all this stuff works itself better than we know how to work it. We just have to watch it and say, I see how that works. And we can fix this world. But anyway, thanks for coming along.